Hello. Welcome to the Empowered Artist Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Apple, a multi-hyphenate actor, educator, acting coach, writer, dog mom, and founder of this vibrant community that champions artists as they carve out their own unique paths in this wild industry. Whether you're just starting out, in the thick of it, or seeking a bit of artistic fuel to expand your toolbox, you're in the right place. In this space, we'll have honest conversations, share actionable strategies, tips, and resources, and delve into the messy yet beautiful journey of living a sustainable, creative life. We unmask the reality of life as an artist, from navigating career highs and lows to nurturing your full human well-being. I chat with women and non-binary guests who share their personal stories, helpful learnings, and hearts to help you unlock your artistic potential, expand your knowledge, and show up fully and fearlessly in your artistry and daily life. Before we dive into this week's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If today's chat resonates with you, please leave us a review. It helps us reach even more incredible artists just like you. And hey, feel free to spread the love. Share this podcast with a friend or post it on your socials, making sure to tag at Empowered Artist Collective and at @JenniferApple_ so we can chat with you there. All right, grab a cup of something cozy, settle in, and let's get to it. How do you honor your creative timing in a culture that often has other priorities? In this episode of our Playwright Mini-Series, I sit down with playwright and actor Ngozi Anyanwu for a conversation about claiming your artistic voice, holding your ground in the industry, and creating work that is both deeply personal and universally resonant. Ngozi shares how her background as a performer informs her playwriting, why specificity in storytelling leads to greater connection, and practices for protecting and honoring your process. Together, we explore how to write without feeling boxed in, how to build a creative ecosystem that supports you both artistically and financially, and why a community of trusted collaborators, champions, and truth tellers is essential to longevity. Whether you're a playwright shaping your first draft or an artist ready to expand your body of work, this conversation is a reminder to stay true to your voice, honor the stories only you can tell, and trust that your truth has a place on stage. Enjoy. Ngozi Anyanwu, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm good. It's so great to have you in the space.
Thank you for having me.
For anybody who does not know you, who are you today?
Today I am a multi-hyphenated, primarily theater artist. Yeah. We're writing, we're acting, and in the fall we will be directing professionally as well.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Big deal. Big deal. And of your own work.
Out of my own work, yes. You know.
Which, yeah, I cannot wait to talk about that. I'm really excited to get into the weeds. And I'm so grateful that you're a part of this series because, you know, it's showcasing people with the same quote unquote titles and how they like balance all sorts of artistry and multi-hyphenated parts of themselves, as well as the way in which they approach these various parts of themselves. And I'm curious, just because we're throwing you under this particular umbrella of playwriting, and then obviously we'll probably tap into all these other artistry hats because they seem to coincide with that work, specifically with the work that you do. Yeah. How did you find yourself in the writing lane of things?
I mean, I always wrote. I really did like creative writing and like middle school and high school and like poetry contests, and always kind of attempted to like write scenes and monologues. Even when I was an undergrad in college, I went to school for acting and theater arts, but you know, I even produced with my friends an unfinished works festival, right, where I couldn't necessarily have the discipline to finish anything on my own, but I got a bunch of people who also wanted to write, and we kind of did like a night of scenes and monologues. Yeah. Kind of unfinished. So I've always written, but it wasn't until I think like maybe my third year in grad school, actually, where I wrote my first play. I just kind of like had like 30 pages, and I went to UCSD for grad school, and
for acting.
Yeah. And that was a pretty highly accredited MFA program. So they had playwriting majors, they had design majors, they had directing majors. So I kind of just got my class together and was like, I think I have a thing. Do I have a thing? And my classmates were like, yeah, bitch, you have a thing. Right. By the end of the third year, I had had my first draft of Good Grief, and I had my class read it, actually.
That's wild. And then how did you know how to make that happen? Like, I know that seems like a really dumb, silly question, but like, I mean, you were like,
I had, again, like self-produced. So in college, I got together with friends. I'm like, let's do this Playworks Festival. My sister is a talent manager and essentially like my producer and like stage mom, Chichi Anyanwu. Shout out to Chichi. Even before grad school, I had done this thing called First Generation Nigerian Project with, I guess like, oh, she's famous now. So Yvonne Orji, a colleague of mine, Funny So Dofia, and we'd kind of written scenes and models that we kind of made together, and we just kind of did it. It wasn't like we knew how to do it. Like I had done plays enough, right?
Yeah.
I had done other people's plays. I had gone to school for acting, so it was a matter of like, okay, I wrote a play, find actors. You don't have to spit to find an actor who will read something, no matter how good or bad it is. So it was just like, all right, I wrote it, and I just got some more friends out of school when we got out of school to like read it. And then as that grew, when we were like, because eventually I basically self-produced it with my sister. We kind of went, this is like, what was it? Indiegogo, I think it was. Like Indiegogo, which was like before GoFundMe, around what Kickstarter was. And we just kind of raised money. I was helping out Lou Moreno, who was at Intar Theater, and he kind of gave me his space. So it wasn't like I knew. I'd always just like made a thing, let's show the thing, and like learned on the job. So there was no like, and I acted in enough things. And so it was like, all right, well, you need a space, you need actors, and you need the play. So I'd written the play. I got some friends to say yes. I got some people to audition for us. I got a friend to say yes to directing. I raised some money, being like, okay, what's the bare minimum? I had saved up my waitress money, being like, if we couldn't, because I think when it was a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, I think it was like, if you didn't raise the full
80% or you
80%,
have to like,
they stopped it or they said no. So, it was like, all right, I had $5,000 saved in my account from waitressing, and I was like, that should cover it, because it was like we just were paying a showcase contract. We're doing like 2 weeks of rehearsal. We did something really simple with equity and after showcase, and we just kind of looked it all up, and it wasn't that hard, and we kind of just like fast and furiously self-produced it, and the community had come out in droves. Like we did like a 4-day showing, and like people couldn't get in, people got turned away. And we gained a lot of love that way from the community, and so that gave me the confidence to like then try and get it produced. And then it was like, all right, now let's invite fancy theater. So we did like a couple of readings after that for like fancy people, and like to kind of no response. Essentially, we just kind of had kept doing it for our community. And then I was between New York and LA, and I actually won a contest called the Humanitas Award for Best Play. And so that was in leagues with CTG, which is like the Mark Taper, Kirk Douglas, and Amundsen Center. And so I had won like first place for Good Grief. And then they did like a nice fancy reading of it. And then again, they did that. They're like, all right, fuck off, go back to your life. I'm kind of like do it, make it. Okay, that works out. Keep it like going. Cause from being an actor, I'm so used to the, yay, then who cares. Right. Yeah. And so I'm not particularly sensitive when it comes to rejection because of acting, because like you go in there, you audition, you think you kill it, and then you don't hear from anyone. Yeah. And so I'm just used to that. I'm used to like low expectation of response. And so we had done a beautiful reading, and I was happy that contest paid my rent for like a month or two. And then maybe a month or two after the reading, the producer, Lindsay Alba, was like, hey, have you given anyone the play yet? And like the answer was no, but I was like, no, not yet, but like, no, I was looking for it. But they had done the reading, and they really loved the play. Joy Meads, who was the dramaturg at the time, and Lindsay Alba, who was a producer at CCG, I think she still is. They were big advocates for the play, and they essentially got the play done at CTG. And that was like my first world premiere.
Amazing.
And then
that's quite a world premiere too. Like that's like a pretty solid.
Yeah, that was
premiere.
like it was a big deal. Yeah. And that sort of that's like history, but it was essentially like self-producing it, getting the chutzpah to like keep shopping it around. Yeah. And then like, the hustle of that. I'm good friends with Mfaniso, and at that time she had really kind of named herself as a playwright. And her advice to me was like, this is a good play, write other plays.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I don't know if I have other plays. I like Good Grief was kind of autobiographical. So I was kind of like, do I I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So in the middle of even writing Good Grief, by the time that was closing, I had begun kind of the beginning of Homecoming Queen, like the beginning of that idea. So yeah, that's kind of been, that's sort of how it was like, I didn't know what to do, but I was like, a play requires actors, people to direct it, people to act in it, and a stage. And so it's kind of simple as far as like what's required. Everything else is like money, your time, and what you're willing to kind of sacrifice, right? Like, so I was willing to be like, I'll just do it myself, because I had done stuff myself. And I had a sister who loves to do things with me. And I think I'm lucky enough to have friends in the community who will back me up on that. And now I think I'm in a good place where I think I have people who like my work, who are like, how can I help you make your work? So now I'm in a place where institutions I no longer have to Indiegogo, right? For my supper, for now.
I love it. What I'm going to add, even though you didn't ask for it, like the other multi-hyphenate, you are producing. I mean, right. You are, there's right. like I think there's like a misnomer too around what producing actually is. We always think like money as the top thing, but it's also like, who do you know and how can you rally the people, and how do you have that hustle mentality to continue facilitating the environment so that something can thrive? That's equally as important. And so, I think it's really incredible that you lean on your community, trust your community, and also they give back, and how it really is this thing where you understand the symbiosis of the two, and that this doesn't happen in a vacuum, and that we all need one another in order to make our work thrive and happen. And that hustle being that you've built as an actor, sustaining this other part of your work is really palpable. I am curious then, you touched upon the fact that like you're like, I don't know if I even had a play, and then you started the idea for Homecoming Queen. So I'm curious for you with that, and now just generally with your pieces, how are you generating ideas? What is your writing process? Like, do you sit down and you were like, all right, I have a 4-hour block and I have to force myself? Or is it you sit on a subway and you're watching some people and then there's a spark of an idea and then you let that mull over for, 2 months until you finally, and it pours out? Like, I don't know.
I mean, at this point now, it really depends. Sometimes you're commissioned for a thing and you talk about that you want to write that, and then you just really don't get to it. And some stuff is really personal. And I kind of now think of all the plays as like little dedications. Like, I want to do something about this thing. I don't know where it will end up. I now kind of let that happen. I let it go, like, oh, I don't know where that's going to end up. I start a play one way and then it kind of takes over in this other way, depending upon what's happening in the world or what's happening in my sort of like inner whatevers, where I'm like, oh, I want to write something about this, but now I'm here. So now it's about this, and I think process-wise, I think I've always been a little fragmented, a little messy. So I just have a little bit more confidence now that like it'll happen or it won't. Right?
In what way? But how does it happen?
I mean, like, I don't do the 4-hour writing thing, right? I don't sit for 4 hours and like write. I write really fragmented. So I always have like, I'm like, they're in my bag, but I always have like journals with me. I write mostly analog for a while. Until I can't. I hate sitting at a computer. I hate being on my phone, even though I'm on it too much. So I really like carry around journals with me. I see a lot of people's work, so I can like get a little fed, So for me, the process is like ongoing all the time. All the time. Where I'm like, I go and see something, I'm like, that just figured out something for me and how to fix this one scene, or maybe go there or go, well, they've already covered that. Moving on.
Yeah.
Got to go deeper because now I've absorbed this other play that's about something similar. So now I can't go surface. I have to go deeper and farther than that person just went, So I think for me, like, my stuff is like a little fragmented. I write on the subway. I write in my Uber. Sometimes, when I'm editing, I sit down and I kind of have to go through stuff, especially when I'm like on deadline. So if I'm on deadline for something, then it is like I got to sit and dedicate a couple hours to this thing. But it really just, I mean, at this point now, it really depends. My attention span is really post quarantine terrible. So I do tend to write like in pieces and in time Like, and I am now like a full-time artist. I don't have a survival job. So it's a lot of like
we live.
lying in my couch or on my bed thinking, why haven't I written that scene yet? You know? So
Yeah.
it's just a lot of torture right now. I don't know that I could actually stand to have a more disciplined process, but it's not particularly disciplined because I don't necessarily have to sit down and do anything. Like, I don't have any real deadlines that I don't give myself at the moment, you know? So it's
And you
all
can
like,
stick to your own deadlines. Like if you were like, I need this in 2 weeks, you know, you are going to trust yourself enough to do that.
no, I have to like, someone has to give me like a workshop, right? Give me a 2-week workshop. That's you know, and
Yes.
now it depends. Like I didn't used to be a generative playwright as far as commissions, right? So usually I would take a commission because I already knew like I was like 30 pages into the beginning something, you know. But lately I've been like, I took the one that I have in the fall. It's a play I've been wanting to write. I had like basically no pages, and they kept talking to me about like, let's workshop. I'm like, I don't have anything to workshop. And I basically was like, can you give me a fighter, a man and a woman, and a week, and maybe I'll come up with some pages. And I'm very aware that I may or may not come up with any pages. And then was lucky enough that I came up with like half the play. And then the second workshop, I was like, hey, can we bring in the same fighter? Give me another 2 people. I think I can get a little bit more done. And by then I had like the draft.
Wow. Yeah, the external deadline was something that allowed you to generate
to just like write, you know what I mean? Like, and so I literally was like, and I wasn't in that week planning on finishing it. I was like, all right, I'm at 50 pages. Maybe I'll be at 60 or 70, but you know, a little 10-page thing, knowing that I had like New York Stage, I was doing New York Stage and Film in the fall of 2024. So I was like, okay, I don't even have to get done. No pressure. And then, you know, the muse had kind of struck the night before. We were just sharing some pages, and I was like happy to just share the 60, and then the page dropped and I had like 100 pages. Wow. And like, you know, I stayed up until 9 a.m. and I hadn't done an all-nighter in such a long time. And like came up with something that I was really proud of, that essentially was like, can we do that play next year?
Obsessed.
And so for me, it really does depend on the piece, the structure. Having done that, I am now confident that I can make something from scratch. And if you just give me like 3 to 4 days, if I have a hard amount of like, I'm working on a musical now, and that's with collaborative, right? So that's like, you know, a producer will rush and go, great, you guys are together. Can I get something by the summer? And it's like, no, we have to see if we get along. We have to see if we're making the same thing. There are so many collaborators in here. Give us another retreat. Give me the composer and the director. Let's all get, you know, and let's see.
Yeah.
You know, so
you're naming 2 really incredible things here. One is I'm feeling as also like in my multi-hyphenates, the writer part, like you're naming kind of more my process, which is like erratic and inconsistent, and something that I consistently have to maybe talk about in therapy, but also sit with myself around like, how do I know it's there and I know I need to have it happen, and it will get done because it has to at some point. But until I have that deadline, I just have to trust myself, I guess, that I know that it's in me, and that it'll like that personal trust within yourself, that like you do know the things that will help push you to get the thing, but also naming the fact that you aren't necessarily the classic, like I sit down and I dedicate my time and there's a writing process. Like I think it's really helpful for artists to hear that that is a thing, and that is a thing that can be, I hate the word, but like successful in that, like it doesn't have to be this really meditative practice as long as you know the way in which you operate, and then you can give yourself the framework to make that happen. I think that's like something that I want to just echo back, that I think is awesome and very relatable for me. Hi, actor friends, talking to you. If finding the perfect monologue has you feeling stuck, I've got just the thing. I've put together a free monologue selection toolkit just for you. It's packed with resources, free and paid options, plus tips for choosing, editing, and customizing pieces to showcase you. Head over to jenniferapple.net/freebie and stop avoiding the auditions that ask for a monologue or waiting for the perfect piece to simply fall into your lap. Dive into this free toolkit that I set up just for you that'll set you up to feel agency over your process and artistry. That's jenniferapple.net/freebie and get started on finding your next go-to monologue. I'm hearing you consistently through every single scope of what you've shared so far, know to ask for what you need. Like you being with your new collaborators, recognizing this is a new partnership and not just saying yes because it's a thing that has to get done at some point. It's like, no. In order to trust this process, you need to trust me. And therefore, this might take some time. So give us time. Or, hey, we need a retreat so that we have said designated time. And how do you, it's like, I shouldn't even say it this way, but like, how do you have the audacity to ask for it? Like, how do you ask people for the things that you need?
I mean, for me, it's like the knowing what works and knowing that something has been successful. I don't know that I would know to ask for that if, usually, or someone giving that to me and that working and go, oh, I'm going to keep asking. I didn't know I could ask for that, right? Like for Two Rivers, for the Monsters, they wanted that play. And so they were like, what can we get for you? And I was like, what can you get for me? I don't have an answer for that. You can give me this. How about that? That sounds good. And they were like, okay, you know what I mean? And they had really, that was sort of like the alchemy of, they had given me the right consultants, right? I had the right actors who were just kind of like playing canvases, being like, oh, you don't have any pages? We don't need you to, like them not, the actors being chill about, okay, I'm just happy to be here and in the room. A fight consultant who was amazing and gregarious, and we were in the same spirit realm, I feel like. So that was, so everything that they had given me was like, I didn't know I need that ingredients. It was like, I know I need bread and I need meat and I need a condiments, right? But I happened to have gotten like filet mignon and whatever, you know what I mean? And so, and made this play that I really love. And so, it's like over time you learn the things that you like when it is all a little magical, when it's when it's a little magical, it's like the right spirit of human beings. It's this, and it's am I focused, right? And so like, okay, I can tend to lose focus. Okay, my director for the musical, he's young, but he's very focused. So great. Right. Let's have him be around being like, is that done yet? Right. The composer's really great. Let's have him be around and be like playing his music, because that'll just like, I get hyped with that. Right. And so, and when I kind of keep doing things, I go, that works. Let's try this. And so, and I think people at the end of the day want something to work, right? They want their play, they want their product, they want their material. So, and I've been lucky enough to work with some institutions that are like, oh, that sounds great. I'm not asking for anything crazy, right? But I've also been turned down on those things, right? People are like, well, we don't really work that way. And then I'm like, well, I don't know when they're going to get that played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Or I could still write, and even though they don't want to work that way, and maybe the muse will come some other way. But sometimes I'm like, no, you're going to actually have to wait for that. But if I want my check, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because you need that draft to get your money. You'll work without those things. But for me, I'm like, I always want to make sure I write something really like good and personal that I really like. And so I asked for things that I need so that I like what I'm making. So that's just like experience where you kind of trust yourself and make some demands that aren't actually that demanding, right? That's the other thing too. I'm like, this isn't what I'm asking for. Giving me some actors and like a week retreat is not like that. It shouldn't be that audacious of an ask.
Correct.
It just shouldn't be that. And so if people feel that way, well, good luck with them, because you just gave me some money and I don't know if you're going to have that second draft now, as opposed to, do we want to pay for the resources to give you those extra artists and that extra time? And I'm like, you do if you want to play.
Want the thing. Exactly.
So, and also, no one's getting, it's theater, so no one's getting paid enough in my opinion. So no one's getting paid enough. So I am also at the point where I'm like, I'm going to do what I like because I'm in it because I like it. And when I don't like it, you won't see me or my work, right? Yeah. And so, because it's not for the money, the notoriety is like, that wore off some time ago after the first play. Like and it doesn't pay your rent ultimately. Not really. Not yet. Knock on, I don't know what material this is. So I do it really because I enjoy it and I enjoy the process. And so, If the powers that be don't want to give me my process, then they know that, those people also know where, like, to not call me as well.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
let go from jobs. I've been yelled at because of my process, right? Where,
Yeah.
like, that I've been told I go too slow. I've been told, hey, I thought you would have this then. Why, you know what I mean? Like, I've been rushed. I've been insulted. I've disappointed people. You know what I mean? I've quit
Yeah.
things because I said I could do something and I actually couldn't handle doing it,
Yeah.
So I've had all the versions of disappointing people and people disappointing me. And so now I am in the place where I'm like, this is how I would like to do it.
Yeah.
And if you would like to do it with me like this, let's do it like this. And some people will be like, this is how we like to do it. And if that check is really cute, I will go, that is how I would like to do it as well sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a collaborative spirit, and then there's also, your self-worth that I am really admiring. And your sister Chi-Chi is my manager, and I'm learning it a lot from her. Yeah. And also she was like on our first season of this podcast, so y'all go check out that episode too. It's awesome. And I'm learning that from her. Y'all are similar in that way, in that, like, well, what do you actually need? Like, let's be really real. What do you need? And it's such a basic question about, like, fundamental human being stuff that as artists we're somehow, like, banged out to think, like, well, I can't need that. Even though I know I need it, I can't. And it's like, says whom though, right? Aren't we ultimately trying to find, in the best case scenario, an environment and human beings that you want to share space with so that you can bring the best version of you, your own creativity, and vice versa? Like, isn't that ultimately actually what we're trying to do in this art form? Like, yes, the answer is yes. So not really giving ourselves the space to really take a pause and be like, well, what do I need actually, in a very real, tangible, non-aggressive, like over the top way, like functionally speaking, what would be the most beneficial for myself in this space is radical. It's a radical way of entering a room and approaching one's work. And it's so clear that you are doing that. And it's really, I'm so grateful that you're here talking about it too, because it's a practice, I think, for so many of us to continue.
And I forget. I forget my worth all the time.
Yeah.
you know, I'll forget my worth when someone doesn't let me do something. And then I go to another institution. They're like, of course, would you like to do this as well? And I'm like, oh, I thought I was that bitch.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, yes.
And so you're, because the art form is in direct contradiction with the industry.
Mm-hmm. Say it again for the people
art
back.
form that we have decided to do, our vocation, is in direct conflict with the economics in the industry of what we do.
Correct.
And so that amnesia,
real,
is constant.
Very real,
because of the reminder of self-worth. When you put your heart into something and you look at your contract and go, "That's how much you paid me for." You just called me a genius yesterday. How come this isn't?
Yeah.
Can you pay me the amount of MacArthur Genius Grant then? Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thank
you.
You just called me a genius yesterday, and and this isn't like a genius.
This isn't genius.
This is not a genius rate. And so, those are just things that you have to, if you continue to be in this industry.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to push the boundaries of this industry as far as that goes, getting your pay, getting your worth, but also being aware of the industry that you are saying yes to, right? Because there's a version where I can just be in a basement somewhere just doing my plays and doing them for my community and doing them, but I chose not to do that. So I also have to be very realistic that I chose to get out the basement, right? And I chose to be in the big bad world. And so I have to sort of it's the constant, and to be aware, I'm like, oh, as I move up in these higher rungs, I will constantly be having to prove my worth. I will constantly be having to remind people through my work, right, that I am worthy, even though they let me in their house, Yeah. And so it's a constant battle. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for naming that. It's so real. It's so real. Yeah. And I think that cognitive dissonance around naming that is often an identity crumbler, and it's helpful to hear it. And it's helpful to hear it often that A, we're not alone in thinking that and navigating that. And that B, that is unfortunately the reality. And it also, by knowing your reality, you then have more agency in the way in which you navigate it. Yeah. So the yes and in that. I'd love to talk about the monsters and MTC and how you feel around directing your own work. Have you done that in this capacity? What has, like, as you're prepping for this new chapter of this artistic experience, like what are some things that you're learning or discovering for yourself while you are simultaneously showcasing your writing?
Sure. I am learning that I am not as patient as I think I am. And yet I am. And yet, let me give myself more credit, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just learning I have some triggers that I didn't know that I had. That's what it is. And that, as a playwright, if I'm not acting in my own work, when something frustrates me, I can walk. I can let the director handle stuff. I can let the director take that meeting, and I can go for a walk, and I come back and everything's back to being glorious. There's a lot of, I can retreat a little bit as the playwright, and trust the process. I can trust that, halfway through rehearsal or halfway through the first week, the actors are bad. And I can go, and I can take a walk. And
that doesn't bother you, though, as a playwright?
When they're bad? I'm an actor, so I know that there's a period where everyone sucks.
Correct.
Right? And so, but yeah, like, it bothers you because you're like, be good. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think I trust the process a lot more.
Yeah, because you know the process intimately, I know the for process yourself. Exactly.
So this is when they're second guessing themselves, asking too many questions, and I leave my directors, who are pretty brilliant. Like I've worked with Candace Jones. Mm-hmm. I've worked with Owoye Tempo, my work wife, and Patricia McGregor. So they're like Patricia and Owoye, like the lesson of patience that is Owoye Tempo, no one knows, right? Mm-hmm. But patience and firmness, right? That I learned a lot by watching hers particularly. And so what I'm learning is, like, as a playwright, there's always a process in building a new play where the actors don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's just what it is, right? And when you're acting in your own play, they believe everything you say because they're like, well, she has to do it. But
that's a different kind of pressure too, though, no? Right? Because do you ever find that for yourself, that you're in your own work and you're like, oh, wait, why did I write that like that? Or
I do, but I'll go home and I'll rewrite it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'll go, and so it's not that I get questioned all the time. And I think that is also a new play process, the dramaturgy of it all. But there's a process where there's a lot of, picking and going, why is it like this? Why is it like this? And I always say, like, Kimberly says this great thing, and I don't know if she made it up, but she says a great thing where she's like, people always want me to come to them in my plays, and I want them to come to me first. And that's me as well. It doesn't mean you can't ask questions. Doesn't mean you can't challenge. It means that you can go. It can go. But actors have a tendency to go me first, because it's about making them comfortable and what they want to do. And so for me, it's the patience of, I know what this actor is doing, and I have to not be offended by that. This is just their process, and this is process, right? And so for me. But as a playwright, I can just go, oh, they're in the process. I'm going to take a walk. The director will go ahead and defend my play, and I can whatever. Yes. Or if a great question comes out of that, the director can come to me and go, hey, this actor has a question. I'll be like, oh my God, yeah. Mm-hmm. But when you're the director actor, I can't be reactive,
right?
To a bad question. I have to kind of go, oh, as if I'm not the playwright.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go, say more. Right. I actually have to encourage that, because I also know that even when the note is bad, it's going to lead me towards something good. An actor will pick at something and the playwright's annoyed, being like, stop picking at my play. It's perfect. Right. But the director has to go, that actor is asking a question incessantly because something is not right. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so I got to go back in the text and figure that out. Or I got to figure out how to articulate better than, because I wrote it, right?
Yeah.
And go, how about you try this? You know what? I think we're fundamentally disagreeing on what that is. I think you just need to try it. So It's hard, because I feel like the director is the conduit between the actor and the playwright. And when you're both, I have to be mindful to not be dictator.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I'm still leader. right?
Yes.
And so I am a confident playwright. I am confident in what I made, right? I am not the person like, oh, you said it should be like this, but it'll be like this. I'll change it because I liked it. I liked what you said, so we're gonna change that. Or
Yeah.
I'm not gonna change it yet, and then maybe the next time I go, you know what? I think you're right about that. I will change that. That's great.
Yeah.
Or I disagree. It's gonna stay like this. Stop changing the word, you know?
Yeah.
So we've been workshopping, and so it's been interesting just in that process, just being mindful of my own stuff. And stepping up as a leader to really learn how to articulate, hey, I don't want that. Hey, I do want that. That the collaboration, we're working with a fight choreographer and a choreographer. And there's so many elements of the play, even though it's a two-hander, I'm learning also in process how to now walk into a rehearsal process. So I'm like learning as we go and asking for grace as the leader to learn as we go, you know, because everybody in there has done what they've done before. And I've never written. I've written on small levels, but I've never done this, right? So I'm asking for all of us to trust that I still know what I'm doing, even when I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So it's a cool, scary place to be in.
Yeah. Do you have feelings around the fact that it's, and I don't mean like this caliber, but like that it will have more distinctive eyes for this being your debut in essence of managing this dual hat?
Yes. I have many feelings.
Yeah.
But they don't matter.
I mean, they matter, but right, yeah, exactly.
But all that stuff is around stuff that is not super important to me. Like what's important to me is, am I going to ruin my play? Like those are my thing. It's like, I want to make sure that this thing has the heart that I intended for it to have. Yeah. You know, will the actors stay on track for that? Will the piece stay on track for that? Will the pacing of what we're putting on stage and the lights and the sound and whatever stay on track for this play that should feel really athletic and intense, but also really tender? Yeah. Will we do all those things? And so for me, it's like, I just want to accomplish those things. All the fancy stuff, this is the caliber that I work at. I'm an off-Broadway darling, if I can call myself that, right? Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, it's off-Broadway, bitch. We fucking, it better be off-Broadway. We got the fucking bomb cast. Yeah. We wrote the bomb play. It's a precious two-hander, right? So we're not costing you an arm and a leg. So bring that bitch off-Broadway. Bring that bitch to Broadway, actually.
We're I was gonna say, like, why are we? Let's move up a block or two. Yeah,
you know, I mean, I gotta see if we all, you know, the audience has to see if they like.
We know.
But yeah, I mean, the feelings around sort of the debut of it all is a thing, you know, because I want something to be good. Like that's just like who I am as an artist, and I want to be excellent, and I want the actors to have their catharsis, and I want people to walk out talking about how great those actors were, and I also want motherfuckers to cry. Like I want them to have the full experience of the piece, and if they have that at MTC or at Two Rivers, or you know, I'm going to Berkeley with it as an actor in the spring, then like yay. Do you know what I mean? So. So yeah, I do have feelings around the sort of prestige of that. That's been an interesting thing because also Midtown is its own culture of theater. I've mostly been downtown, so that's its own fancy schmancy, whatever that is, you know? Yeah. So I have feelings about it, but the thing has to be the play.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you, I mean, I imagine all of this is happening. Are you simultaneously writing other things? Are you and because of commissions or because of your heart being drawn to stories that you're like, this is living in me currently? How many are you doing it, and how do you balance that?
I'm always writing many things, the beginnings of things, and like some commissions. I have one commission. I don't know when they're going to get that play. God bless them. They won't let me do a generative workshop. So I go, okay, well, blessed assurance. Writing a musical called Painter the Thief.
Is it new, or is it based off of, or is it inspired by?
Called The Painter and the Thief.
Okay.
With Ryan Drogan, who's the director, and Julian Hornick. He's an amazing young Wunderkind composer, singer, songwriter, and excited about that. In the beginning of writing the book for that, based on a artist who had her painting stolen and befriends one of the thieves, essentially.
Fun.
And it's a really just cool, dark, interesting, complicated friendship story. I'm in the beginning of writing that. I'm also in the beginning of writing, I've been doing a series of two-handers. I had a play called Libra and Lucy at Steppenwolf, and Last Love Letter that was like 2 1-person shows, and this show Monsters, and I think I have like one more in me, and then I think I'm like back to multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like and that's sort of like in its like filling up the notebook, not quite figured out thing. And then I have I'm working on a Homecoming Queen trilogy.
Oh.
So I'm working on like the part 3 of that. I've already written part 2. Homecoming Queen already came and went. But yeah, I'm looking to turn that into a trilogy. Yeah, and then like trying to figure out things like if TV comes back up. It's been kind of very slow for me post strike.
Mm-hmm.
And so hoping that, with Monsters and other plays, like maybe that will come back. We'll see. To like maybe like have some ideas to maybe start pitching for that. So like sort of in the beginning of like, what would make a good thing if people go, hey, what are you working on TV and film?
Yeah.
And then looking to adapt Good Grief into a screenplay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you say I mean, I don't mean to like pick at it, but when you say you're working on it, again, is it the kind of thing that like as you're going to bed at night, like, and and I mean this is like very real working, like you're thinking about it, so the work is happening, so that by the time you do sit, it comes out, or you're working on it as in like you're taking the journals and the journals are happening and like the notes are being scratched.
So for Painter and the Thief, we just came back from NISAF, and I just wrote half the book, so that's one.
Yes.
But
Ooh,
now
okay.
I'm thinking that we have one more retreat in September. I'm trying to be like, if you do not have that retreat, you will not get a first draft for a year, because I'm going to be going with the Monsters. So we're doing one more retreat. So I'm kind of like slowly inking at that. The goal is to have a first draft of that.
Amazing.
By the end of our retreat in September. So that's the musical. For Homecoming Queen trilogy, I'm just making notes on the 3rd play. I'm still in the beginning of that. Probably looking for a workshop or a commission to actually like hone that in and get that thing done and get paid to at least, finish it. The other like 2-hander that I'm kind of excited about, I just have the notebook and I'm just writing and talking about it too much and hoping that
never too much,
that scenes will go up. Yeah.
Amazing. Have you been using the same monologue for years? Are you gearing up to apply for BA, BFA, or MFA programs and need pieces for that process? Or maybe you just have no idea where to even start with monologue hunting? I get it, and that's why I offer monologue sourcing. This is a unique process where I find monologues chosen specifically for you. So many artists pick pieces based on external labels like type or for roles rather than finding material that represents who they truly are. So here's how it works. We'll meet virtually and you'll share all about who you are, your passions, values, beliefs, and everything in between. Don't worry, I will help guide you through this process. Then I'll get to work finding monologues that fit you like a glove. With years of experience sourcing pieces for hundreds of artists, I've seen the difference it makes to have a monologue that genuinely feels like you. So, if you want to feel empowered about the monologues you bring into rooms and use for auditions, I would love to help you find them. And because you're a listener of the Empowered Artist Collective podcast, I'm offering an exclusive rate. Head to empoweredartistcollective.com/podcast promo to register and claim the special offer. That's empoweredartistcollective.com/podcast promo. I cannot wait to help you find monologues you absolutely adore. In terms of said commissions or retreats or, grants, there's obviously the public facing ones. There's your relationships that maybe you have that's like a direct, like, hey, we have this relationship. Can you give me a personalized, say, retreat? How do you go about knowing what to submit for in the public space of it all? How do you know what would be beneficial for you? Is it solely based off of the financial, benefits, or is it also the time because it's designated? Like, how do you know and decipher through that medley of the ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Sometimes a theater will be producing a play of mine, and then they'll be like, hey, let's get you on the hook for one more play. We think that this play will do well. We want to keep a relationship with you, and we would like to now build, they'll like do a play of mine that I already wrote, but like, we would like to build a play with you. And then maybe they'll do that play or maybe they won't, right? Okay. But they'll at least have first crack at it. So that's what it is for like a commission, right? A theater will be like, hey, we liked working with you. Do you want to build a play specifically with us that we have first right of refusal on? Something like New York State and Film, I know the artistic director and the former artistic directors. So that'll be something where I can approach them and email them and being like, hey, can I get a week to to just work on something. I don't need anything, knowing that that's not a lot of resources that I'm asking for. I'm maybe just asking for a bed.
Yeah.
And they'll usually say yes to that. Or I go, hey, I want to do, or they're like a big fan of me and they're like, hey, do you want to do something like a 2-week thing that has a showing? And that's like for their audience base, they'll like that. So I'm in a place in my career where I can approach, a theater that I have a good relationship with, going like, hey, I need a week to work on this play and do it in-house workshop. Or, I'll go to Patricia and go like, hey, can I get a Monday to do a reading just to hear it out loud? And she'll like, it'll be for a few or 4 months from now, but I can give you a Monday. Right. And so that's sort of like leveraging the places I have relationships with. Or if I want to apply for a grant and they'll be like, you have to apply with an institution. I'll do that with an institution that I'm close with and be like, hey, can I apply for this grant with you? And I've been turned down early in my career when I wanted to apply for like Princess Grace's or things like that. I've been turned down because I didn't have a close enough standing with that place as an actor per se. But as a writer, they're like, sure, you know what I mean? So there's actually a lot more leeway as far as that grant stuff, or as far as like commissions. A lot of times I'm in a place now where a lot of times they come to me. But sometimes I'm like, I need a check, I need a workshop, I need a showing. And I'll reach out to somebody that I have a relationship with. I have a pretty strong relationship with most of the ADs that I've had a play go up at, right? Which is good because they're very transparent. If they can do something for me, they're not afraid to tell me that they can't. Correct. If they can't do something for me, if they can do something for me, they're like, of course, when, what, like, I'll now put you with this person who actually is now in charge of the thing.
Yeah. And for folks who are starting out in their writing journey, who don't have said relationships, what are some thoughts that you have or suggestions that you have about them beginning to A, build those relationships, and B, start to funnel themselves into spaces either through grants, residencies, what have you, to start to build them?
I mean, that's so hard. When I first came to New York, we had things like the Lark, rest in peace.
Yeah.
We had so many collective things that you could come to and just absorb, right? And so I don't necessarily, I think, know all the channels. That is something, that's one of those, like, I mean, everything I found, I Googled. So that is one of those seek and ye shall find. I will say there's a guy, Aaron Squire. He's a playwright and a TV and screenwriter. And he has a thing on his posts. I want to say Page 73 or Playwright's Realm. I think they have like blog posts of opportunities that you can like look up. I think is it Playwright's Realm or Page 73? I can't remember. One of those two. And Aaron Squire, they all have things on their blogs and on their posts where you can actually look up opportunities for grants, writing contests, writing retreats. So you can do something as simple as like writing retreats for women, writing retreats for people of color, playwriting grants, playwriting contests. There are actually things that you can like look up. The Humanitas Award that I won was because I was on Facebook and someone had posted like, hey, there's this contest for LA, California, Sub-California based people, submit your play here.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I think like we underestimate the seek and you shall find, like seek it out. And then there's nothing like doing some readings with your friends in your apartment and like, and going to everybody's everything. Shit's expensive. So like, that's harder, but people have readings, like follow your favorite artists, follow your favorite playwrights, follow young and new playwrights, follow these things, because there are so many other community things. There's Soul Soiree where people just perform monologues. You can maybe enter something like that and perform your own monologue. There's Seen and Heard on both coasts where people submit their pilots and plays. You can create and start your own thing. We're like, hey guys, I just want to read some stuff.
Yeah.
Does everyone want to come? We like make some food and then we share some stuff. So that's essentially what we did a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
So then also some people went to their alma maters. They went to their school. I had a friend who was at NYU. And so we went there and we hosted Now Africa because we had someone who was affiliated with their educational place. So also like if you're an alumni of a program and if you're lucky enough to go to college for theater, what have you, if it's in New York City, say, hey, will you just do something for alumni? Can you give me a room? Yeah. I know NYU grad has a whole thing where they do Studio Tish. So they get essentially, I think, free space to like workshop stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes you're like, I've written this thing. How come I'm not at Playwright Horizons? And it's like, huh? Well, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not at Playwright Horizons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't underestimate like your own access to people. I think you got to, I think if I have a following, it's because I show up for people. So I show up to the tiniest thing. I show up to the Broadway show, you know, and I'm lucky enough that I have the means to go to a Broadway show and or be invited. But I also go to the other things where I'm like, what's this? Let me go see what that is. What's that thing called? The Parlor? There's a thing called the Parlor where they have a mixture of poets and playwrights and what, like, show your shit. There are open mics, and it might be like, you know, in some tiny basement downtown, but don't be too proud to show up and show your stuff. I used to go to, you know, my friend Yvonne Orji used to basically make up her own open mic comedy nights where comedians, she would show up and tell you, she'd think, oh, mama, I made it. This bitch used to show up with an amp, a microphone. We go to some bar. Everyone had to put like $5 to like do their stuff. And we would do scenes. Some people would do stand-up comedy. And we do it some like Irish pub on like upstairs. So like, I do think there's just like a lot that you're going to have to do yourself right now, which can be really frustrating. And really exhausting and quite frankly feel a little dehumanizing. But I think there's a way that it can be reframed as like, well, this is the work. You know what I mean? And the work is to make the thing and show the thing. If there's access needs, write something and post it on your freaking Instagram. Don't be too proud, like, to show your stuff. I didn't have that 20 years ago. I guess we did with Facebook, but as an actor, I am taught to be very apologetic for my work. And so you're taught to not do that. But in this TikTok age, in this whatever age, lean on that, right? If you have a TikTok, share your stuff every day. At the moment, if no one wants your play, share it every day read it every day. I did a thing where before anyone knew that Masters was happening, I shared a page every day on my story.
I love it.
I said, hey, this is what I'm working on. And I'm like, if you want to, you can follow along. But I was like, I'll be sharing 1 to 2 pages every day until that play is over. So I just think that for good reasons, there's a fear of copying. There's a fear of sharing. There's a fear of stuff getting stolen. There's a fear of stuff being taken advantage of. But at the same time, it's like, if no one's checking for you now, share it. Like, you know. There's also New Play Exchange. There actually are so many resources that you can just really like look up. I don't necessarily have them all in my brain because I am lucky enough that I don't have to sort of go through that channel. I'm repped and what have you. But even me at this big age, search those things out to be like, hey, I would like to perform there. I sought out Soul Soiree and was like, hey, can I perform? And they're like, of course, you know. Or I sought out the Parlor, be like, hey, I would love to share some work. So sometimes you gotta seek those things out and face rejection. And if they won't do it, make your own Parlor, right? If they won't do it, make your own open mic, and spend a little time on yourself before someone else is gonna spend that time on you.
I loved that little rant. That rant was so important. It's so important, and especially now on like a macro level where resources are being cut left and right to institutions that we banked on having resources. Right. You know, like if we're macro, like above down, trickle down effect here, it has to start from down up at this point too. And so that cyclical notion of like, where do you have access to? Who do you have access to? In what ways can you collaborate, co-create, the process, coming back to process and really enjoying that as the art, which is ultimately arguably like what we're doing anyway, if we're really coming back. But then it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning of like industry versus what we're, you know, the identity of it. Like, coming back to why are you doing this? The love, the care, the storytelling, whatever your reason, finding the spaces and the people with whom you can give and share and be in space to do it. That, it has to kind of start from you, and it can be exhausting and debilitating, and this isn't easy. But I think the reminder again to know that we have that agency in these spaces, and that, we aren't all going to, snap our fingers and immediately be at Playwrights as much as we would really love to. And that would be great. I'm so grateful for you taking this time and sharing your process. I'm so excited for all that you have in store these next couple of months, even into next year already. I have no doubt that like your career is just going to keep snowballing just because A, your hustle, but B, the way that you show up is so intentional. And I think it's so rare to find an artist who is so embodied head to toe about, again, whether you have a day that's a dip, but like, but like embodied in the knowing of of your worth and the way in which you create, and being willing to acknowledge, like, yeah, this is not where I shine, or I need another person to balance this, and the self-awareness. And so I'm just so grateful that you shared that so vulnerably, because it's helpful to have reflected back to us, like, we are all a mess and we're also incredible. And that is why we are artists, period. So thank you for creating brilliant work. Thank you for continuing to bring into the artist canon, and showing up with all of your multi-hyphenate self in these ways, in collaborative ways. I'm really stoked about it. And for anybody who is listening and is in New York, obviously, depending when you listen to this episode, maybe other cities and states and countries at some point, pop in and see the work. But
I'll be here all year.
Great.
Great. All year. Yes.
I love it. Thank you so much for being in this space. For anybody who wants to read your work, collaborate with you, hire you, write you a gorgeous, huge check, like, where within your boundaries is it best for people to find you?
Amazing. If you want to read the work, you can go on Broadway Licensing or Dramatist Play Services, or you can go to the Drama Bookshop, or they sell plays. Look up my name. That's where you can get the plays. If you want to collaborate with me and write me big checks, call my agent at CAA, Olivier Sultan. He'll field the calls for me. If you want to hang sometime, DM. I'm slow on the DMs because I'm a grown-up.
Because you're boundaried. I'm going to say because you're boundaried.
Yeah. I mean, and with being a grown-up comes boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
So I won't promise you a hang. But if you want to reach out, I do check my DMs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm just slow on them. And I am good on my boundaries. So I am like, if we don't know each other, we're not going to go out for coffee, and you can't necessarily pick my brain because this brain needs to go to work. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about jobs and what have you, my agent's probably the best way to go through that. But if you just need to do a quick hey, I'm sending your agent this thing, I'll go ahead and flag that down. But but DMs are cool. Reaching out to CAA if you want to do a big check, because they'll go through the lawyers. And if you just want to mail me a big check, you can DM that too, and I can also just.
I love it.
You don't have to go through CAA. Just kidding. That's it. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for being in the space.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you walk away with some fresh insights, feel inspired, and a little more empowered to take the next step on your artistic journey. Remember, whether it's a small shift or a big breakthrough, every step forward counts. You've got this, and we're here cheering you on every step of the way. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll never miss out on the discussions we have each week. And if something today really resonated with you, please leave us a review. It truly is one of the best ways to help other artists find our podcast and join in on the conversations. Plus, we feel the love too when you do. And don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Share this episode with your people or post about it on social media. Be sure to tag at Empowered Artist Collective and at @JenniferApple_ so we can see what's landing for you and keep the conversation going. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being a part of this incredible community. Keep creating, keep thriving, stay empowered. I'm Jennifer Apple. Until next time.